Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Into Deep podcast. Very, very excited and pumped today to introduce you to my guest, Miss Nerida Bint. So Nerida is Australia's #1 emotional intelligence educator. And when I saw her social media, I knew I had her on the show. I was fucking excited. For me, emotional intelligence honestly changed my life. I think I was exposed to it first in my early 20s. And my first memory of learning about it was, have you heard of a book called Chimp Paradox?
No.
It's called the Chimp Paradox, and it teaches you about your sort of monkey mind, which is probably your amygdala. So
Of course.
monkey mind is when you go into autopilot, right? So it was the first time it was a book that taught you thinking about thinking, right? So it's a funny concept for like someone in their early 20s. And one of the examples they use is, say you have a loved one, kid, significant other, whatever, they leave a glass on the table, right? You go and you knock that glass on the table, shatters into a million pieces, and you go, that fucking idiot. They left the glass there, blah, blah. So it's sort of learning the monkey mind, wants to blame everyone else, right? But understanding that, switching from an external locus of control, as in like, oh my God, the world's out to get me, everything's someone else's fault, I have no control, to being internal and being like, that was me that knocked the glass over, I'm going to clean it up. So that to me was just like my earliest memory of learning about this type of stuff.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So tell me, what does emotional intelligence actually mean in your words?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. So emotional intelligence to me is essentially the ability to, first of all, label an emotion that you might be feeling. So first of all, to be able to just take a second to notice, I'm feeling really angry right now. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling scared. It's the ability to first label the emotion and then the ability to actually regulate it, allow yourself to experience the emotion and feel it, which actually only takes 90 seconds in your body if you allow yourself to feel an emotion. And it's the ability to not judge ourselves for feeling that feeling and to be with it. And it's also the ability to notice in others when they are experiencing an emotion and maybe our impact on them or their impact on us without going into judgment, without going into projection, without going into suppression. So it's really just the ability to get closer to our emotions, and I like to say, I don't say any emotions are good or bad, positive or negative, right or wrong. Emotions are just data and directives to usually, to tell us where we need to recorrect our behavior or when we need to meet a need or where we need to set a boundary. And it's the ability to go there and be with it without needing to shift it and think through it. So many people go into their thinking mind when actually we need to learn how to experience these emotions in our body, to breathe, let them pass without going into a spiral.
It's so funny because I love Eastern philosophy.
Yes.
Right? And to me, it sounds like a westernized version of like, Buddhism, detaching from the outcome, feeling the emotions. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, yes, 100%. Like, a lot of people, I think we've come such a long way in, our self-awareness. But I think what I see a lot now in pop psychology is we love to label people. ADHD, anxiety, depression. Everyone's a narcissist. Everyone's gaslighting me, toxic masculinity. Yeah. When actually I really encourage people to let go of focusing and assessing and analyzing people around you. Focus on the self. The only thing to change is self. What's my part in this? What's my contribution to this? Where do I need to show up for myself, set boundaries, have compassion for myself? The only thing I can focus on is me.
I love that. And so tell me, when were you first exposed to this? And I can see you're very passionate about emotional intelligence. How did you land to where you are today?
So I would say I've always been into self-development. I spent 10 years, seeing a therapist, going to Tony Robbins, doing all the seminars, doing all the things. But when I went through a breakup in 2020, in the March of 2020, I weirdly I used to own a couple of women's only gyms. They were closed down overnight. I had a breakup with my partner that I thought I was going to get married to and have kids with. And I was in a lot of pain. Growing up, all I ever wanted was to get married and have my own family because I felt such rejection and I felt like I was the black sheep in my family. And I remember about a month into that first COVID lockdown, I remember Googling, like, what is it that men look for in a partner? Like, I was so lost. And I thought at the time it was a woman who's beautiful, a woman who's smart, a woman who's funny, a woman who's intelligent. And the thing that kept coming up was men look for emotional connection. And the one thing I realized was I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even know what emotional connection meant. And that started me on the path of understanding what emotional intelligence was, emotional safety, emotional connection. And I realized, wow, I've had so little of this. I've had such patterns of blame, shame, criticism, control in my relationships. And that was why I was attracting all these incredible men, but they would eventually leave because I would leave them feeling so inadequate. The one thing every partner would say to me is, I feel like I'm not good enough for you. I feel like I just can't get it right. I feel like nothing I do is good enough. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was projecting all of my unworthiness onto them.
Yeah.
And as I've healed that within myself, I've healed my rejection wound. I've learned how to accept myself. Everyone is a mirror to that. As you heal the self, you reflect that in others. You draw as you work on your own self-worth, and you start to like feel more confident, feel more compassionate towards yourself, feel more worthy within yourself. You attract people who mirror that back to you. So I can confidently say now I'm with a beautiful man that I know I will get married to and have kids with, who reflects that back to me every single day.
Okay. I love that. And you sound very happy, and I can see you being as well. So tell me, you mentioned the statement like you healed yourself, right? How exactly did you do that?
It's a great question. And I'm just going to say it looks different for everybody. Okay. For me, what worked for me was I didn't realize how much suppressed shame I had. So I had decades, and Gabor Mate, I don't know if you've read any of his books. He says, what the adults suppress, the child will express. So a lot of my work around teaching people emotional intelligence is teaching people their emotional home. So your emotional home are the 3 to 5 negative, like heavier emotions that you felt most in childhood from 0 to 7. So for me, I felt a lot of rejection, a lot of shame, loneliness, sadness, and confusion. Now, those 5 emotions were inherited by my parents. Dad was rejection, shame. Mum was sadness, loneliness, confusion. And so for me, understanding that and recognizing that first was the first step. Then it was actually learning how to notice what my thinking mind was doing. I was so focused on self-criticism, self-shame. Like I would talk to myself in awful ways I would never speak to someone else. So it was really grabbing my thinking mind and moving it towards more compassion, acceptance, and love. It was learning how to feel all of the sadness, grief, shame that was suppressed in my body over and over and over, allowing myself to hold space for those emotions. It was expressing how I feel, setting boundaries, asking for needs to be met, meeting my own needs, learning who I was and what I need in this world, and what people I feel really alive around and aligned with, and what people I feel really drained and sort of dreaded, like I feel dread around, and showing up for myself every single day.
Okay. That's I've got so many questions, because it sounds like you've figured it out in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's and so I'm curious to know, is this like through deep therapy, reading books, all of the above? Like tell me the tactics you used to get to where you are today.
You know what? I have to say I did 10 years of therapy. Okay. I saw so many different therapists. I didn't really get anywhere. Okay. It wasn't until, I'm completely self-taught, self-educated. I haven't done any emotional intelligence qualifications or anything like that. What I've done is I've spent the last 5 years going out and learning from all these amazing spiritual teachers and actually taking what really resonated and leaving what didn't. Reading books, listening to podcasts, like somatic work has been a huge one, learning how to feel my feelings, learning how to track the shame, the sadness, the loneliness, the fear of rejection, where that comes up in the body. Like being really connected to our body is so important. Everyone has a different emotional expression that comes up in them. So for instance, I don't really often feel inadequate. That's why my business is so successful. Like I can just put myself out there. I have no fear, no shame, right? If people say no to me, I don't make it mean anything about myself. But yet I noticed in my love life, I had the complete opposite experience. I would go on a date, and if a guy didn't pursue me, I would make it mean something. I would tie it back to the old story of my dad. I'm not good enough. See, I'm not worthy. See, I'm not worthy of love. Whereas I think a lot of people these days are the opposite. They make it mean something in business and in their career, but they naturally don't make it mean so much in relationship. So for me, like coaching people has actually been the thing that's healed me the most, because through coaching people over and over and over again, I've started to see people show up with their patterns and their stories and realized, wow, I can't believe you make that mean that. That's so interesting. And then it's helped me to work through my own patterns. And this is what I teach a lot in my online course. And it's really through looking at your own thinking mind and asking yourself, do I really have evidence of that to be true? And so a lot of the work that I do, the somatic expression work, like for me, when I feel shame, I feel a flash of heat in my body. I feel my face going red. A lot of people, when they feel fear and anxiety, they feel it in their chest, fluttering at the chest.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they feel shame or unworthiness, inadequacy, they feel a pit in their stomach. They feel their stomach just drop. So we really need to understand what's going on for us, because the minute that starts to happen, I need to regulate that before I communicate. Because the minute you're communicating from a dysregulated place, you're only going to create separateness because you're projecting that onto another person.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to be able to label, hey, I'm noticing I'm starting to get defensive. I'm noticing I'm feeling really scared right now. Or I'm noticing I'm starting to feel really frustrated.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really misunderstood.
Yeah.
And these are skills I think we don't have.
100%. And one of the calmest and most present I've ever felt, I was seeing a mindfulness coach for about 12 weeks, and his number one thing was like, he wasn't like therapy's bullshit. It works, like you said, it's a tool. But he was like, number one thing is regulating yourself.
100%.
Right? So what are your tips for nervous system regulation? When people are feeling flustered and, might be in an argument with a loved one and they're just, that monkey mind, which you mentioned before, lizard brain, amygdala is going nuts, and they're just mindless and just arguing for no reason. So how do people regulate themselves?
So the minute you the minute you notice you don't feel okay, like you're starting to feel something, practice a pause. Never communicate when you are dysregulated. That's the number one thing. Don't even try to talk to anyone, because you're only going to project that yucky feeling onto that person. Projection is a lot of people do one of four things when they don't have emotional intelligence. We project, we deflect, we dismiss, or we minimize. So projection is where if I feel shame and I can't feel this feeling, I'm going to transfer it to you. I'm going to say something mean to you to shift it. Deflection is where I use my sense of humor. I kind of hide it to like change the topic and move it on because I feel uncomfortable. Minimizing is when I try to convince in my thinking mind, this isn't such a big deal because I'm going to compare it to something bigger. You shouldn't feel that way because what about this instead? And then dismiss is when I just try and talk you out of feeling it because it's not a big deal. So the first thing we need to do is practice the pause. What am I feeling in my body? Where am I feeling it? Where in my body is it? And what is it? Is it heavy, light? Is it fast, slow? Is it in my throat? Is it in my chest? Is it in my stomach? Is it in my hips? Is it in my jaw? Is it in my forehead? Where am I feeling this? And then practice just pausing and breathing for 90 seconds. You'd be surprised how long 90 seconds actually is when you are feeling an uncomfortable emotion.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Actually just practice feeling that emotion and then ask yourself, what would I need in this moment that would feel really good to my nervous system? Do I need to walk outside and put my feet on the grass and face in the sun?
Yeah.
Do I need to go and splash some cold water on my face? Do I need to jump and shake my body a little bit and like growl and like, I feel so angry?
Yeah.
Do I need to have a drink of water and move this tightness through my throat? Do I need to tap my chest and like bring safety because that I can feel my heart beating? Do I need to even just put my hand on my chest and breathe?
Yeah.
What is it that would feel really good to take care of me right now?
Yeah. And so what would you recommend for someone like me? It's like, or someone who hasn't done this stuff, like what feels good? Like you feel a bit suppressed. I don't know which direction to move in. Yeah. And I always talk about as a young man growing up, and as a personal trainer for a long time now, almost 15 years, I had this toxic positivity thing.
Yeah.
So whenever I felt a negative emotion, I'd be like, don't want to feel that.
Yes.
Mr. Positive, got to be happy.
Yes.
Yeah, come on, what are you doing? Your life's so great. Fuck, don't put that. And I never let myself feel.
Yeah.
Right. So what would you recommend to those people who are suppressing negative emotions?
Yeah. So the first thing is to identify what is the emotion I'm actually feeling right now. There's a great tool called the emotion wheel. I've
seen that. And
yeah.
The first psychologist I went to see, it was in my I think I was 22. I went to see her for an anxiety issue. And she like asked me, she's like, tell me about the different emotions you feel on a day-to-day basis. And I was literally like, happy, sad.
Yeah.
I felt pathetic. I was like this man in my early 20s and my vocabulary for emotions was 2 words.
So I was the same.
And she showed me the emotion wheel and I was like, holy fucking shit. So
whoa.
Yeah, I do have that. I'm trying to teach my daughters that actually. So I have that near their room. So
that's so great. I encourage everyone, get one, put it on your fridge. Like look at it constantly. Like the way you build your emotional vocabulary is by constantly looking at the wheel and, oh yeah, I feel a bit inferior right there, or I feel a bit inadequate, or I feel a bit anxious, I feel nervous, I feel frustrated, I feel agitated. What is the emotion first? Label it. And then ask you, like, what you'll start to notice is you'll feel the same thing over and over and over. So for me, it's always shame, flash of heat, and then sadness stuck in the throat every single time. And that's my emotional home, right? That's the emotional expression that I felt over and over and over around my parents that I've just practiced. My body's just gotten so used to it. I don't even really recognize I'm feeling it anymore. And so that's the first thing. Actually start to develop a vocabulary around what is it that you're feeling right now and what's the story you're going into? What are you making it mean?
Yeah.
And then actually give yourself time and space to slow down, feel that emotion. Now, I'll say this, the growth comes from doing the opposite of what you normally do. So for me...
As in running away from the emotion. Like
100%.
Drinking, drugs, scrolling. We've got so many different ways to avoid emotions today. Right?
These days, there's so much distraction.
Yeah.
We can avoid anything you know. But for me, when I am triggered, I get really aggressive and expressive and big and loud. So what I need to do is I need to practice slowing down and like going inward and breathing. And like I need slower, more still things to self-soothe rather than someone who's used to withdrawing and closing off. They actually need to shake that energy and get bigger and more expressive. So you need to ask yourself, what's your pattern? Do you get big and loud to try and get heard? Or do you shut down and withdraw in order to try and like get safety? And do the opposite of that. So it doesn't, there's no right or wrong. You could jump up around and dance and shake your body. You could get a pillow and punch a pillow and scream. You could go for a run. Like as long as it's intentional and you're actually acknowledging, I feel really angry right now and I'm doing this to move this through my body without going into the story of why do I feel this way and this person this and da-da-da-da-da. It's just no. I just feel angry. And I'll tell you this. Anger usually comes from a lack of boundaries being crossed, needs not being met. Sadness usually comes from a lack of understanding and love. Fear usually comes from a lack of safety, stability, and security. Shame is a feeling of being bad, broken, or not good enough. Guilt is from feeling overly responsible for other people's emotions. So they're the 5 emotions that we get stuck in. And if you get really fear is like all those inadequacy, anxiety, nervousness, that's all fear. Sadness is loneliness, depression, rejection, all of that sadness. Anger, you've got agitation, irritation, resentment, frustration. Like at the end of the day, that big wheel really narrows down into 5.
Yeah. That's amazing. I'm so impressed with your emotional knowledge.
I'm
fanboying over here. Tell me, what is the number one reason people come to you for?
So I would say that most people on this planet deep down feel like they're not enough inside in some way. And what we don't understand enough is our relationships with our parents, how much they've influenced the way that we see ourselves. So from the minute that you are born, you're constantly looking to 2 people to ask yourself, am I loved? Am I safe? Am I understood? And am I accepted? That's what you're constantly doing. So you're bidding for their connection every single day. Look at this. Look at that. Come watch me do this. Come watch me. You're here. Now, if our parents are able to respond to those needs, those bids for connection, 80% of the time, we grow up feeling deep down like we are good inside. We deep down have a belief that we are worthy, that we are understood, that we are safe, that we are loved, right? Now, what often happens is we don't get that in childhood. So what we then do is we develop a belief within ourselves like that I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I need to do this to get love. And that's what most people have, but it might be different in different forms. Some women think, if only I was more attractive, if only I was thinner, if only I was more successful, if only I was more perfect, if only I people please. So you've got to ask yourself, or if only I just make people laugh all the time. What's the one way you notice yourself trying to get connection, and where are you overusing that in life? And that's why a lot of people come to me, because a lot of people that come to me have done all the therapy, they've done years of work on themselves, but there's that last missing piece. And what I help them do is understand that it's actually your time to develop that love and connection and understanding and validation of self. And it's not about looking for it from anyone else. It's about you learning how to give that to yourself. You learning how to be that mother or father to yourself that you never had.
Okay. And what does that look like? Because in theory, I'm sure it sounds nice and simple, right?
Yeah.
But how do we implement that in our day-to-day lives?
Yeah. So for me, one of the things I noticed was we're all kind of driving on a road, right? And our dream life is over here. Okay, so for me, that might look very different to you, but my dream life was successful career, beautiful marriage, children that are healthy and we're connected and loved, living on a farm, dream life, right? My nightmare life was single, lonely, depressed, unwanted, just living my life alone. Now, I was thinking I wanted this, but yet every day I was focused on thoughts that were taking me down this side of the road. So every day I would be looping thoughts of, I'm so lonely, I'm all alone, no one understands me, no one's ever going to want to love me, I'm not attractive enough, all the good men are taken, right? You insert whatever belief it is. So the more that you focus on that, the more your world reflects that back to you, okay? And I didn't realize how, my desire for something, I had resistance to it at the same time. So let me ask you this, right? If I wanted to get on your podcast, right, that's a dream that I have. A woman who felt worthy of being on your podcast, what action would she take in order to get that, make that happen?
She's sliding my DMs like you.
Exactly. But if I was a woman that didn't feel worthy of that, but I wanted it, what would I do?
You self-sabotage. You'd make an excuse, say, he probably doesn't want me to have on. So
exactly. Yeah. So then I never send the DM and I create the thing that I don't want by focusing on the belief.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of people don't understand, that their thinking is still looped in the thing that they don't want because they deep down feel unworthy of it. A lot of people come to me and they're like, no, I do feel worthy of success. But yet every single day they're like, when something doesn't pan out the way that they want it to, or they launch a program and it doesn't sell, or they do this or whatever, they go into a spiral of thinking. I'm not interested in what you consciously say you want. I'm interested in subconsciously, what do you do when things don't go the way that you want them to?
Okay. That's incredible. And it reminds me of, have you read Atomic Habits? I'm
yes,
assuming James
yes.
Clear. So
love James
It's
Clear.
about like figuring out where you want to go in the roadmap of what that looks like. And his thing is like, what's the identity of the person you want to become?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you want to be a healthy person, what does that look like? What does a healthy person eat?
Yeah.
How do they act? How do they view exercise, right? Because someone might be like, oh my God, I'm having to eat a chicken salad every day for lunch. This is terrible. But what would a healthy person say?
Yeah. What would they be thinking right now?
Yeah,
I'm fueling my body. This feels so good. This feels so like nutritious. Like I'm going to feel so good after eating this. And what a lot of people don't want to recognize is they don't want to admit, I don't feel worthy. So what they do is they project it onto the other person or the circumstance.
Yeah.
I'm just not qualified enough. I'm just not experienced enough. There are just no good men left in the world. There are just no men doing the work. I can't tell you how many times I've been told that by women. And it's like you are shifting that responsibility onto someone else rather than just actually acknowledging, oh, wow. Because you can give me any sentence and I can find you evidence of both things to be true. You could say to me, there are no men doing the work, and I could find you millions of men doing the work. You could, I can prove the opposite of anything to be true. So what are you focused on?
Yeah.
And I think what's really hard is, like, there's a great quote that I love. If it took you a few decades to walk into a forest, it isn't going to take a few weeks to walk out. I had been thinking thoughts for 40 years that I'm not lovable, that I'm not worthy, that no one will ever want me. And so what I had to take responsibility for every single day when my mind was focused on that was going, no, that's not true. And what's really hard is, because that's a self-loathing thought, right?
Yeah.
That's self-loathing. That's not a loving thought. So you've got self-loathing, then you've got self-loving. For me to go 2 years ago, for me to say, you're so lovable, you're so worthy, it just didn't feel right? It takes 400 times repetitions of you thinking a thought over and over and over again before you can create a new thought synapse, which is the actual new belief starting to form. So what I needed to do was I need to practice just getting into neutrality and just saying, Nerida, you're worthy of love just as much as anyone else on the planet is. I had to sort of sneakily put myself in there with everyone else. Like, I deeply believe everyone's worthy of love. Why was I making myself so separate? That was actually because my body had not felt and processed a lot of shame, right? I needed my nervous system to sit there and process decades of shame to move it through so my capacity could grow and I could start thinking these new thoughts. But what we need to do is we need to commit to the new belief, repeating it over and over and over, even if it doesn't feel real, until minimum 400 times, until that starts to become more embodied, and then you can go again. So what I started to do was go, I'm just like anyone else on the planet. I deserve love. And then all of a sudden that started to feel real.
Yeah.
And then I started to look at myself and I was like, are you kidding? You're an incredible human being. You're a woman who is emotionally connected, kind, loving, fun, like all these things. And then I started to move towards self-loving. And then I brought in a man who tells me every single day how much he adores me, how much I'm like unlike anyone he's ever met, da-da-da-da. But that's all a mirror for the thoughts that I forced myself to focus on over and over and over.
Yeah. That's amazing. And would you say that faking it till you make it is kind of what you literally have to do?
100%. You have to. Because do you know what you're doing? You're attracting the thing that you don't want already. Okay. Like the women that sit there and think, he just doesn't support me. He can't show up for me. You're someone that looks in the mirror every day and assumes she's not worthy of support. The woman that looks at her man and thinks he doesn't think I'm beautiful. That's the woman every day that looks in the mirror and criticizes the way that she looks every single day. Yeah. So you're already doing this, but you're doing it from a negative place. We may as well make it from a positive place.
No, I love that. And it's sort of like, it's almost like manifestation, right?
And it's creation. You are creating. What people don't realize is every single day you're co-creating your reality. You are co-creating it. Yeah. And but that's like what most people, 90% of people on this planet live in is first D consciousness. I'm a victim. Things happen to me, right? Most people are still in that thinking. Whereas to move into 3D is where I'm taking responsibility for every single thing that happens in my life. If I don't like it, I'm going to say no and I'm going to change it. Yeah. And a lot of people don't want to go there because it takes a lot of responsibility and it feels heavy at first to really, for me, I had a mental breakdown when I fully realized that actually I was keeping on attracting all these men that kept rejecting me because I was actually rejecting them. They were just responding to that. So to really take ownership and fully go, no, you are co-creating everything that's happening in this world. That's huge. And a lot of people don't want to go there.
Yeah, like having the knowledge that the world is happening for you, not to you, right?
100%.
That's a huge one. And do you like Joe Dispenza?
I love Joe Dispenza.
I was going to say, this is all very Joe Dispenza. Yeah. I'd love to go to one of his.
Oh, me too. It gets sold out in like minutes.
I know. I've got a friend of mine. She lives in Canada and she's been like 2 or 3 times. Oh. And I've seen how much she's grown from when she started this stuff. Yeah. And it seems like truly incredible.
He's incredible. Yeah. And you know, I think he's very science focused. And I think for me, I loved a lot of his work, but a lot of the work I do is making it really simple to understand.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't like the science part of his book.
Yeah,
so
me neither.
Give me the other stuff. I think he's trying too hard to prove that it's which is obviously you want to validate what you're practicing, but I think the results speak for themselves.
100%
on what he's doing over there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a turn now. I want to talk about Nerida Bint, the human being. So, how would you describe yourself? If you had to introduce yourself, who is Nerida Bint?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that I am a person who is just doing her best every single day. I'm someone that grew up deeply feeling broken in this world, like feeling like I didn't belong, feeling like I wasn't worthy of love and that there was something wrong with me. You know, I will be open and honest and say I lived with suicidal ideation every day of my life up until probably a few years ago. So I felt very broken in the world. And, you know, I'm also someone who is so proud of the work that she's done to, you know, to heal and to find my worthiness and to do the work that I do to teach others that it's, you know, you're not so alone in the way that you think, that most people think this way. They just won't be honest about it. And that, like, I'm someone that loves, like, you know, I'm the person that at the party is going deep with you straight away because I might not remember your birthday. I might not remember to check in with you when your nan's passed. There are so many things that I'm not great at as a friend, but one thing I really am good at is knowing your emotional home. It's spotting the beliefs that you're going to go into. It's spotting the patterns of thinking and trying to get you to wake up to that. I'm a very direct, honest person. I would rather risk someone not liking me and being triggered by me but potentially waking up to something right then and there. And I'm not someone that will just pussyfoot around or I'm not someone that reads the room very well sometimes. Like I would say I was quite narcissistic growing up my entire life. There are 2 types of people. There's the narcissist and the people pleaser, and they're both exact mirrors of each other. It's all about meeting our needs. Narcissists are usually raised in homes where we had to go internal to meet our own needs because parents weren't available to, whereas a people pleaser learnt I'm going to go outward and meet everyone else's needs in order to feel safe. Yeah. And so for me, I've really attracted a lot of people pleasers in my life. And now looking back, I can see I probably left people feeling very unheard, very unappreciated, very alone in my relationships, and I'm just working so hard to try and heal that.
Yeah.
And I'm just a human being that's just living life day to day and just meeting every experience with an open heart and trying to just integrate it and just living in the wonder of this world and, why God brought us here and to experience all of it, the good and the bad.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And, it sounds like you've been through some really dark times. I'm sorry to hear that you went on through all that. But a lot of the times people who've been through some of the darkest stuff become the best healers. And it sounds like you're on a mission to help other people
100%
also heal. So, and it's funny you mentioned the narcissist. I don't think you used the word empath, but like they're essentially two sides of the same coin.
Very, very much so.
Right? One's self-absorbed, one's meeting needs to other people. So I think that's a really fascinating concept.
Yeah. Well, a lot of women come to me because they are the people pleasers, but what you don't realize is people pleasing isn't kind and it isn't selfless. It's actually manipulative. You're actually manipulating the other person to get a false sense of safety in yourself. So you're still actually trying to meet your needs, but inadvertently through focusing on the other because it feels so uncomfortable you to focus on self. It feels so uncomfortable for you to actually set a boundary, express how you feel, speak up and be honest. So because I am so direct and harsh at times, I think I do attract a lot of people pleasers because they are looking for that balance. They're trying to find their way back to that, but it feels so uncomfortable at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. Tell me about some aha moments in your life. Like, have you had any sort of like rock bottom moments and you're like, holy shit, or revelatory moments? Kind of like me when I was reading Chin Paradox and I was just like, oh my God, this is like, what is this self-awareness? What is this monkey mind thing? Have you had any moments like that in your life?
Oh my God, so many.
Tell us a top couple maybe.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the very first time I heard the phrase, when you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. So that really landed for me because I really realized that every time I would try and convince someone that love wasn't possible for me, that there were no good men left, there were no men doing the work, every time I repeated that pattern, I reinforced it. And it meant that I would have to go and repeat the opposite pattern 8 to 10 times in order to correct it. So every time you practice thinking or speaking something that reinforces a limitation that you have in your life, you are creating more of it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to get out of the story and feel the feeling. So oftentimes when I'm working with clients, I'll ask them, how did that make you feel? Or what do you feel when you think about that? They're going off into a story, into an analysis. Well, I just feel like they should this, or they don't this, or they don't that. And it's like, no. Come back and feel what's coming up for you. What's the emotion? I feel shame. I feel scared. I feel inadequate. I feel frustrated. Cool. So I think that is the biggest work that I'm here to do, is to get people out of the story and get them into the present moment to feel what's going on for them. Because the more you repeat that story, the more you're reinforcing it.
Yeah, I love that. And can you tell me the favorite thing about your job?
Oh, it's just watching people wake up to their own bullshit. It's watching people sit there and kind of go, I'm actually the problem. I'm creating this. I'm reinforcing my unworthiness. I'm reinforcing my negative beliefs that I don't deserve that, or I'm not worthy of that. Yeah, it's just watching people wake up and shift that. And, it's all these little moments where people come back to me and say, I set that boundary, or I shared with someone how I really feel, or I put myself out there and asked to go on that podcast, or I, launched the course that I'm terrified to launch. It's all these little moments that people are showing up for themselves and leaning into their edge and feeling that scary feeling and doing the thing anyway.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I just asked you about your aha moments, and it's like, you obviously love helping other people find their aha moments as well.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that. So
100%.
Tell me what your biggest source of inspiration in life is.
It's, through people, you mean, or?
Whatever
My biggest inspiration, okay.
What inspires you?
Who?
What?
What?
It can be anything. It can be a who, it can be a what.
So there's a couple of people that really inspire me. I love Tony Robbins. I love Brene Brown. I love the holistic psychologist Nicole LePera.
I did the Unleash the Power Within, I think 2016. That was like really life-changing for me.
Yes.
It was incredible. Have you done a few of his things?
I've done UPW. I did it in 2019, and that's where I learnt the concept of the emotional home, and that just blew my mind. I remember initially going to that, and it was like $2,500 or something for 4 days. And I remember freaking out thinking, oh my God, that's so much money. And my friend said to me, Nerida, if you come away with one thing, it's worth it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. How ridiculous. I was this person that was struggling with deep depression, so much sadness and loneliness and shame. And yet I didn't want to spend $2,500 to go and see one of the world's leading coaches and mentors live in Sydney. And that was my first kind of investment in myself. And then ever since, I've invested in myself over and over, and it's paid back every time.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. I remember sitting there and just going, wow, my emotional home. It's loneliness, sadness, and shame. And then that took me on a whole other tangent of then teaching it to other people and then watching, oh, that's from your mum, that's from your dad. And then I developed, not only did I heal my own internal emotional home, because I genuinely am someone now that feels deeply connected, very secure, very content, very happy, and very at peace. But I've also created a whole framework to teach others. Like, not only personally it was the best thing I ever did, but professionally it was too. So that was an incredible experience. But yeah, I would say the thing that gives me the biggest inspiration is living on this planet every day and just making the most of that experience and just actually developing connection in any moment, whether it be listening to a stranger share their stories, whether it be listening to your partner, whether it be laughing and just swinging on a swing with, I have a niece and a nephew I adore and spend a lot of time with, but it's just actually fully living in this moment and, noticing the old me compared to the current me and having hope that that's possible for anyone.
Yeah, I love that. And so you're sort of saying like just take life as it comes, ups, downs, all around, because like you can't avoid.
Well, no person gets a free ride, right? We all come here to experience all of it. And the funny thing is, think about it, right? You wouldn't know what connection was if you didn't know what loneliness was. You wouldn't know what love was if you didn't know what fear was. So everyone only wants to feel the good stuff. No one wants to feel the bad stuff. But it's through allowing yourself to feel the heavier stuff that all of a sudden the tiniest things make you feel joy. I'll never forget. Like, I remember listening a lot and reading a lot of the holistic psychologist work, Nicole Pera, and she talked a lot about really fully letting yourself feel these emotions. And I didn't realize how terrified I was of doing that. And I'll never forget the day that I said, okay, I'm going to fully let myself feel this sadness. I'm just going to let myself go. I've got nothing on. I'm in the middle of a lockdown. I've got nowhere to be. I'm not seeing anyone. I'm just going to fully let myself. And I remember for 48 hours, I cried and hurled and just screamed and fully let myself feel all of it. Like, I'm talking rolled up in a hole on the ground, a mess. And then 2 or 3 days later, I thought, okay, I'm going to go for a walk to the beach and just go for a swim. And I'll never forget walking outside. It was the first time I actually felt the sun like fully on my face. I could hear birds chirping. I could feel the wind. I could feel the sensation of my feet on the ground. Like, everything was just hyper magnified. And it wasn't actually any different. It was just I had the capacity to feel the peace and the love more because I'd allowed myself to go to the depths. Yeah. So I could, on my way here, I just walked down your street and it's a beautiful sunny day and I fully took in the trees and the sun and the beautiful breeze because I am someone that can experience that present moment because I've allowed myself to excavate that pain.
Yeah. Well, what do they say? You need to be able to feel to heal, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Tell me, so you seems like you struggle with relationships for quite a long time.
Big time.
What would you say now that you are in a happy, fulfilling relationship? What are the secrets to a happy, fulfilling relationship?
Great question. Notice the story you go into, what you make things mean. So when your partner doesn't look up from his phone, what story do you tell yourself? When your partner, doesn't clean up his mess on the kitchen table, what do you make that mean? When your partner or when you're dating and, that person doesn't reply back or that person doesn't ask you for a second date, what are you making it mean? That's the first thing, okay? Notice that constant pattern of thinking. And the hardest thing is to go to actually understand I'm making this mean that I'm not worthy and then looking for the opposite of the evidence to prove the opposite. So I think the first step is to learn how to not take things personally and get curious about what's going on for them. That was my biggest, I remember coaches saying that to me for so long and I didn't know. And what I really think changed everything for me was I knew that in business, if I put myself out there and I got a no back, I wouldn't make it mean anything. If anything, I'd be like, oh, your loss. But when I would put myself out there in love and then I would get a no, I would go into a spiral.
Yeah.
So I started asking myself, what would it be like if I could bring this version of me in business, this confident, successful, worthy woman into relationships? And then all of a sudden I started to see more of that reflected back to me. So I think that's the first thing. Really build your own worthiness within so that you don't take your partner's behavior personally. And if you are in a relationship, the first thing you need to do is understand your partner's emotional home, your partner's belief systems, your partner's emotions that they struggle to actually feel. Where does your partner, I know for me, my partner really struggles when he feels guilt and when he feels shame. That's when he starts to withdraw. But can I make his withdrawal not mean anything about me? And actually, and one of the best things we need to do is find positive assumption. We need to be constantly looking for, when our partner does something, how can we look for the positive assumption there? My partner's withdrawing because he's trying to soothe, to save the relationship, because he doesn't want to say something he's going to regret later. He's not doing this to punish me. Yeah. He's actually just trying to find safety. Or when my partner gets angry, he's trying to feel heard and understood, because right now he doesn't feel like I understand him. How can I find positive assumption rather than negative assumption? Because anytime you're in negative assumption of a partner, you're in a wound with a parent every single time. That's the biggest thing people don't understand, is that your partner is a mirror for the relationship you had with the parent that you craved love from the most.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that's from the Gottmans.
Yes.
The relationship, they're big on the positive
Big
thing.
Big time.
And are you familiar with John DeMartini?
Yes, I love John. I've interviewed him. He's incredible.
Have you?
100%.
He's one of my dream guests. So I did the breakthrough experience years ago. And it was life-changing.
I've heard it's incredible.
Epiphanies. But he's huge on that. Like, if you think you're lacking in some area of your life, figure out where you actually are in abundance.
Yes.
In that same way. So you said you were lacking in relationships, but then in your business, and then you were able to sort of like translate that across.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, Nerida, I want you to tell me now about any controversial opinions you might have in the sort of mental health space.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay, so a lot of people won't like this, but I really don't believe that mental health diagnoses are about chemical imbalance in the brain. They're actually about unaddressed childhood wounding. So like we said earlier, ADHD, I really believe, is repressed anger and needs not being met in childhood. Depression is actually a lack of love and understanding in childhood. Anxiety is a lack of safety, security, and stability in childhood. So, and what I think is really challenging is people who are labeled with these things, it allows them to stay in the victimhood of just saying, well, no, I've got this diagnosis, rather than taking responsibility for feeling the feelings, for doing the deep work, for looking at the patterns of thinking and the behavior, and actually doing that work. So a lot of people, it feels more comfortable to go and take the medication and take the subscription, what's the word?
Prescription.
Thank you. But, and if you go and you feel the feelings, you practice sitting somatically, tracking what's coming up for you, you do that deep work for a couple of years, and you come out of that and you say, no, I actually do have depression, go for it. But really what it is, it's your emotional home. It's the emotions that you felt most between 0 and 7 that you have not learnt to regulate and integrate. So integration's so important, right? I want you to think about this. If I sign up to your gym and I say to you, I want to lose 10 kilos, and I pay my gym membership every week on time, not an issue, but I actually only go to the gym once or twice a week, and I don't look at, any of the food, I don't change any dietary stuff, I'm still paying for the gym membership, but I'm not actually showing up. I'm not integrating, right? I'm not actually doing the thing. Whereas if I pay you the gym membership, I show up 5 or 6 times a week, I go and I look at my meal plan and I buy the food and I cook the recipes, I'm actually integrating, I'm going to lose the weight. Now, what a lot of talk therapy, a lot of mental health diagnoses is, it's that paying for the gym membership but not actually going. You have to actually integrate. You actually have to regulate. You actually have to feel. Most people do not know. I can't tell you how many people slide into my DMs and say that they've been diagnosed with anxiety or depression, they're on medication, and then they come and work with me for 6 months and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never once recognized that I feel fear every single day and I don't know how to sit with my fear and actually regulate it. So it's like and then they're off their medication within 3 to 4 months. So I'm sorry, but I just think that pharmaceuticals are not going to make money out of people who heal themselves. So it's in their best interest to keep pushing this narrative, but I just wish more people really explored working with a coach, working with a mentor that could teach them how to feel their feelings, because it might take you a couple of years. It took me a few years, but I was diagnosed with depression at 22. I was told to take all the things and I refused it. And yeah, like now I can sit with anything that comes up, any grief, any shock, any sadness, any hurt, any pain, and I can fully feel it. I back myself to be able to hold my body through anything.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And, you know, I guess what you're saying is people are avoiding the work.
100%.
But it is so hard because change is very difficult.
Yeah. So and it's not through talk therapy, right? That's not doing the work. If you go to a therapist and you keep talking and you keep focusing on everyone around you, how this person's a narcissist, that person's this, that person's that, you're not actually looking at your own part in it. So a therapist that does that for you is just enabling you.
Yeah.
You know, I can't tell you how many people come to me and they're like, I've been seeing a therapist for 5 to 10 years. And I'm like, and after working with me to 3 to 6 months, that's it. I don't want you to ever see me again. Yeah. My job in that time is to help you get there so that the next time something happens for you, you go, I already know what Nerida would say to me. I can do it for myself.
Yeah, of course.
You are your best healer.
Yeah. Well, they say that's a bit of a red flag in the therapy world. If you're seeing someone for 5 to 10 years, it's like, why?
It shouldn't even be a year.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
It shouldn't even be a year.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's all just tools, right? I think psychoanalytically understanding, you know, why you behave a certain way. It's not like having the knowledge. Awareness is step one.
Yes.
Right? So like you understanding your childhood wounds.
Yeah.
That's a step, right? But then you have to take the action beyond that step. Right?
100%.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with talk therapy. They know they can rationalize the hell out of why they're acting a certain way, why they're attracted to the wrong people, but if they're not doing the steps, like the next steps, like you said, feeling the emotions, all that sort of stuff.
And it's also through what you say no to as well, right? Like one thing that really hit me was in my last relationship, you know, when we were like the last 12 months, I remember I kept looking at him thinking, I just wish he was more emotionally connected. I wish he was more emotionally available to me. And I had this big thing in my head where I'm like, you're not emotionally available. I projected that onto him, right? And then we broke up and then I did a lot of this work on myself. I sort of woke up and I was like, wow, okay, emotional connection is really important to me. And I'll never forget one of the first dates I went on again. And, you know, went on this date. He was very attractive, very successful, had all the things, opened the car door for me, all of that. And then I remember sitting there and we were having our first conversation, asking questions, having a bit of joke back and forth. And he was divorced with 2 kids. And I asked him, I said, hey, can you tell me a little bit about your divorce? Like what happened there? And he was like, oh, you know what? It's the first date. Let's not go there. Let's keep it light. And I was like, cool, clocked that. All right. So second date, I go on a second date with him and we're chatting. And then all of a sudden I ask again, I'm like, tell me about your kids. Tell me about the breakdown. Again, laughed it off. That there is a man showing me he is not emotionally available. Okay. But what a lot of women do is they move closer towards that man rather than noticing it and going, you know what? I'm actually looking for someone who's emotionally available. Yeah. So I'm going to say no to you and I'm going to keep looking for my king. So, you know, and then the third date, I remember him asking me out and I said to him, I was very honest and I said, look, you're a really nice guy. I feel very attracted to you. However, I don't feel like that emotional connection is there. And do you know what's really interesting? He didn't even understand that. 6 months later, he reached out to me and he was like, when you said no to me, like, what does that mean? And we got on the phone, we had this great chat and I said this, and this. This is now a man, went off, bought all the books I told him to, go on to men's retreats, doing the work, all because I was brave enough to actually be honest. And now we're great friends. So if you're a woman who really believes that she is worthy of emotional availability, you won't be with a man who's emotionally unavailable. Like you actually will move away from that man. So I think what a lot of us do is we see the shortcomings in a person and we try to fix them rather than moving away from them and choosing someone more aligned. And when you're trying to change a partner, you're trying to change a parent. Because deep down, we all have a void within us that we carry into our life and we're constantly choosing partners that energetically remind us of a parent and then we're trying to change them because we feel like it'll make us feel worthy when actually that's the work for us to do, not anyone else. Yeah,
I love that. And I can really appreciate your honesty and openness with this guy you were dating, right? I've been dating for a couple of years now and it's the Wild West out there. It really is.
Yeah.
And the ghosting's so standard. And like it's amazing when you go on a couple of dates with someone and they'll just send you a message and be like, hey, I'm not really feeling it because of XYZ, all the best. And that is just so, I absolutely love when people do that. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mind getting rejected, but it's nice to have a reason behind it. You know what I mean?
Yes. And, you know, the reason why so many people ghost is because so many people can't be honest with themselves, let alone another person, you know? And, you know, the first thing to do is to recognize, okay, this person who ghosted me here, that's an emotional pattern that they have within them that they'll always probably have. So that I don't need to worry about chasing this person or wondering why they didn't write back to me. I'm not going to take their behavior and make it mean something about me. I'm going to notice it and make it mean something about them. This person lacks the ability to be upfront and honest, and they would have done that in a relationship if I'd been with them 6, 12 months. And so it's a good thing that I'm seeing that now because I'm being redirected to a person who can actually have the hard conversation.
Yeah, it's just about being clear on your non-negotiables, right?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me, if you could have a drink with anyone dead or alive, who would it be? And I want to know what you're drinking to.
I actually went through a couple of years where I don't drink.
Okay.
And
Still in that? It's still in that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, pretty much. Like, I mean, I actually have let myself have a couple of wines this last 6 months. And I'm talking one every month or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably would have a really nice glass of wine with Tony Robbins.
Oh, I love that.
I love Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I just think he on this work is embodying, you know, I love how humble he is about his own, you know, childhood, his own, you know, experience. And I love that he's turned his pain into purpose and does so much to help others, not only in this work, but also, you know, children that are struggling. Like, he just, in my opinion, gives more than anyone I've ever seen. And
he still gets up on stage, still jumps around the crazy fucking burns. I think they said he burns like the same amount of calories as doing a marathon.
It's
each
insane.
day of his things.
Yeah.
He's up there at like 10 a.m. to midnight.
yeah, 12 hours, one break.
I don't know if he's still doing lives though, because I think a doctor said his voice box is going to break.
Yeah.
Scream,
well,
but he
you
just
think
kept
about
going.
it, right? He's financially like he could
of
retire.
course.
Like, he doesn't need to work. He just does it because he recognizes I'm 70
his
something.
purpose, yeah.
I'm just trying so hard to give as much as I can before. And I just feel so lucky to have been able to see him in Australia before he died.
I was supposed to go to Date with Destiny, which is the one after Unleashed Power.
I'd
but
love to go to
then
that.
COVID happened.
Oh,
and then they tried to
devastating.
force it online. They wanted you to pay, like, I think it was like 10 grand. They wanted you to pay 10 grand. They were like, oh, we're going to do it online. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night because it was in America.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting a refund.
Yeah.
But I heard that one's going.
Yeah.
Well, obviously,
I've
Unleashed
heard
Power
it's
is
amazing.
Great, but apparently Date with Destiny is
Yeah,
is
I would love to go
level
to
up.
that.
Okay, Tony Robbins. Tell me, when was the last time you surprised yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. The last time I surprised myself, gosh, I would say in my relationship. You know, my partner is very successful. He has his own business. He has a couple of businesses and he's very driven. And sometimes that means he's, you know, just a little bit withdrawn, a little bit in his head, a little bit focused. And I think the last time I surprised myself was when he came home and he was in a little bit of an overthinking, you know, and quiet mood. And I just didn't make that mean anything about me. I was able to just show up and just stay present, give him space and stay on my island, stay in my own emotional space. Like, I remember this one day, I was feeling really good at home. I was cooking and I was like pottering around the house. And then he came home and he was in a bit of a mood, not anything too major. And I went to him and I noticed myself sort of starting to spiral. And then I was like, no, this is not about me. He's been at work all day. It's can't be about you. Let him have his space. So I go off, I regulate myself. I get back to doing what I'm doing, feeling good about myself. And then, of course, that just naturally brings him into connection with me. Yeah. And so it was that. It was just like, it's just for me, the ways that I show up and attune to my emotional experience and take care of myself rather than focusing on others.
Yeah, so we start with the inside first, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me, if you could give advice to the younger version of yourself, the young Nerida, say the 22-year-old struggling with depression, just got diagnosed, struggling with guys, self-worth, what advice would you give?
Advice I would say is to, the first thing would be is to let go of all the therapy and actually get in the room with people who are doing the work. Get yourself, like, I'm sorry, but community healing, I think I think one-on-one therapy will eventually become obsolete. Community healing is where it's at. You know, there's a great quote, like a fire can't burn itself, a knife can't cut itself, consciousness can't see itself. Most of us suffer from a feeling of unworthiness, but we don't see it inside ourselves. We see it in someone else. So when you're in a room or in an event and you're seeing other people fight for their limitations and you kind of go, oh my God, that's exactly what I do. Then all of a sudden something happens, something shifts in yourself and you start to go, wow, I don't want to hold on to that anymore. So I would say the one-on-one therapy that I did for so long that cost me so much money, I've literally up-leveled more in the last 5 years through getting in the rooms with people, going on retreats. I do a one-day event called Intel where I do the same sort of thing. I get people into the room, put them into really hectic emotional states of shame, anger, fear, sadness, and guilt, and then watch what happens, watch what you do, and get a mentor that's actually going to really be direct with you and honest with you rather than just enabling you. I look back now and I think about some of the things my therapist said to me, and I feel so angry because I feel like, it was precious time wasted. I'm in my 40s. I've only just met my person. I'm trying to have a baby. And don't get me wrong, everything happens in the right time. But yeah, if I discovered this sort of work 20 years ago or 10 years ago even, I would be in my prime having my kids. But you know what? It is what it is. It's worked out. But the advice I would give myself is that it all works out and that you are loved and you are worthy and you are going to be okay.
I love that. And, life happens, everything in its right place.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Tell me, what is something you couldn't live without?
My joggers. Going for my morning walk every day and just that time to reflect, decompress, visualize, focus on self, that hour. I just love getting out, watching the sun come up, and that time with myself is the best time.
Okay. Absolutely love that. And tell me, is there anything you are reading, watching, listening to at the moment that's inspiring you and helping you grow?
Yes, the Bible.
Interesting.
100%
Tell me
the
more
Bible.
about that.
I would say, so, a lot of people think that people become born again Christians because they're going through, a dark night of the soul and they're looking for Jesus to heal them. I would say I actually found Christianity. I found God in the best time of my life, like when I was actually feeling really worthy. And I think that what's really just amplified that is having a connection to God has just helped me to remember how worthy I am and how everything rests with him, every direction, that he is working through us, and that we are all on this planet. We're all like just the awe of God and the awe of circumstance and the awe of, and the Bible literally is a book to tell you how to live life. Like it really is. Like the Bible, here we are living this life going, why isn't there a manual? There is. It's the Bible. The Bible teaches you how to be a good person, how to be compassionate to self, how, do not live in fear is written 365 times in the Bible. There are 365 days in a year. That's not a coincidence. So many of us live in fear and we don't even realize it. And don't get me wrong, I don't say this to spiritually bypass. Everyone has to walk that journey for themselves. But I believe that the Holy Spirit is on the move. More and more people are waking up to this, and that's not a coincidence. And yeah, I'm actually obsessed with the Bible at the moment and just spreading the word of Jesus and hoping that people find him and realize that actually when we put our eyes on him, we do feel that worthiness. We know that we're loved because he is our Father. And for me, who had a father wound with a man who couldn't really love me because he never really loved himself, that has been deeply healing.
Wow. I really love that. I was not expecting that, to
be honest. Most people don't.
No, I really love that. And I wouldn't say I believe in God, wouldn't say I believe in Jesus, but I consider myself a very spiritual person. I'm working with a hypnotherapist at the moment who's got me praying because I do believe in a higher power. I believe there's something up there. And so whether it's God, I don't call it God particular, but I feel prayer, it's really just setting an intention.
Yeah.
Like when you're praying, you're setting the intention for what you want help with.
100%.
And where your focus goes, energy flows.
100%.
I think that's a Tony Robbins quote, potentially.
Yes.
One of those guys. Well, I'm just mindful of time now. It's about time to wrap it up. I have gotten so much out of talking to you. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Tell the people, how can they follow you? How can they hear more about your course? Where can we find what you're up to?
Beautiful. Well, you can find me on Instagram, Nerida Bint. Send me a DM. Share this podcast out if it resonates. Please message me. I always respond to all my DMs. I have created a master emotional intelligence course, and that is for anyone who is listening to this and it's resonating for. I take you through 6 modules, 60 videos, 60 worksheets, actionable tools to actually teach you how to change your way of thinking, change your way of behaving to get what you want in life, whether it be in a relationship or business. And normally it's priced at $1,999. For anyone listening to this podcast, I want to offer you a huge discount. If you type in podcast at checkout, you're going to get that whole course for just $499. So that's a gift I'd love to give your audience. But if not, just connect with me and let me know. And I love connecting with people that are into this work and hearing how people experience this. People might be triggered. People might have really resonated. Either way, I'm here for all of it. And I just really appreciate you having me on.
No, I love that. And, I hope you guys feel as inspired as I do after hearing Nerida talk. If you listen to this far, guys, it really helps us if you rate and review the show. And we will see you next time. Peace out. Thank you, Nerida.
Thank you.